Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight. He got drilled by Jack Campbell again.
Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet. Jack Campbell who wraps him up. Doesn't get any better than that. Textbook linebacker play. What the f*** I'm talking about?
All right, what's happening, everybody? Good afternoon, man. Hope you all having a wonderful Thursday. Been kind of hiding in my shell today, not feeling the greatest, but just had an opportunity to listen to Dan Campbell. Posted a video about Jimmy Rolder. Should be up here any minute. And that's what we're going to talk about. The latest developments here by Dan Campbell with Jimmy Rolder headed to IR is the most likely opportunity for him to come back onto the roster. So IR to return is more than likely what we're going to see for Jimmy Rolder. Some updates as far as starters this weekend on Saturday into the game. We will not see Jared Goff. It's obviously what Dan Campbell said today. He's not going to play. Josh Dobbs is going to get the start. And of course, Luke Altmaier is going to continue to get a lot of snaps. Now, we'll review everything. We're going to go through the live stream, obviously, with Dan Campbell and kind of break it down bit by bit. Something that I tried to do a lot this season, but, you know, things just didn't go as we wanted it to do because they missed a lot of live streams in Detroit and posted some videos and what have you. But we're going to continue on throughout the rest of the season. You can bet your bottom dollar that we're going to be right here, making sure that we get all the information out there as quickly as we can. Let's start with Jimmy. You know, obviously, if you get a chance to watch the video later, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. But go ahead, get in there, drop a like, hit that subscribe button and do us a favor. Let's get to that next level this year, man. We want to hit 20K this year. That's the goal. 5K every year has always been the goal. If we do better, we do better. If we don't get there, I'll be disappointed. So we need your help. We need your help to get there. All right, Jimmy. So the other day I put out my 53-man roster projections and predictions. And quite simply, I mean, I laid it out. It wasn't any more clear than what I thought it was, going to be for Jimmy. And that is they're not going to waste a roster spot for Jimmy Rolder when you have 6 really good linebackers right now. Honestly, you probably have 7 really good linebackers. And the Lions could quite honestly keep 5. They don't necessarily have to keep 6. But keeping 5 could leave them a little light if they suffer an injury. I think that the benefit to keeping 5 is then you can probably, gain a player somewhere else on that roster that you really don't want to lose this year. But we'll talk about that too. So with Jimmy Rolder in that hamstring injury, his season's kind of taken a little bit of a turn right now, right? I mean, it's not ideal for a rookie, but at the same time, in my 53-man roster, what I laid out is how are you going to fit a rookie into this linebacker room? When you're going to cut Damone Clark? I don't think so. Are you going to cut Malcolm Rodriguez? I don't think so. I mean, he's one of the most veteran guys on this squad. I mean, he is the most veteran linebacker on this squad as far as continuity with the team. Guys like Devin White, obviously been playing a long time. Jack Campbell was brought in after Malcolm Rodriguez. But Malcolm has that special teams ability, and so does Damone Clark, and so does Trevor Nowaski. So I see all 3 of those players. And this is kind of a continuation on from what Dave Fippett said yesterday, and where he said, look, you could play a little bit of defense or a little bit of special teams, and you have a great opportunity at making the team. However, you need to be extremely good at special teams to make this roster. And right now, Jimmy Rolder's not there. He hasn't had the time in camp, and he's just now learning the defense. So he's way behind. This is a kind of a perfect opportunity. It's kind of blessing both sides of that double-edged sword, if you will, because the Lions save a roster spot. They don't have to cut a vet. Maybe now they don't have to worry about the vet squad, and putting a player down on the vet squad. And then he also talked about DJ Wanham here too. So, DJ Wanham's had a really good camp. He hasn't been talked about a ton by a whole lot of, people in the press. And so that's another player that when you're looking at, the edge position, you don't want to lose a player over there either. And not that I expect that was ever going to happen, but he mentioned a few things that have kind of been, not talked about a whole lot. And so I think it made a lot of sense as to this decision with Jimmy Rolder. Now, could they change their mind? They could. I mean, if another injury happens between now, God bless it doesn't happen. If another injury, which I like the fact that Dan Campbell's knocking on wood now. That's funny. If another injury happens, well, then that might change the roster gymnastics. It does every season. And so for right now, it just made more sense to let Jimmy hit that IR to return. What does it mean? 4 weeks. He'll be out a minimum of 4 weeks. If we have a player go down between that time, then, hey, the timing couldn't be better. But he's still young. He's extremely raw, and he has a long way to go. Do I think that Jimmy's going to be a good football player? I do. I think that special teams is going to be his initial path. And next year, with some of the one-year deals that this team has right now, there's going to be some spots. Depending on what the Lions do next free agency, depending on what they do in the draft next year, Jimmy's going to have a battle, to make the roster every year. But I think that he will, and I think that he has the ability to play at a high level. So it's unfortunate for the guy, but honestly, I think it's a great situation. I really do. This is not a bad situation. It's just opportunities happen every single day. And this is just one for somebody else to really prove why they're on the roster this year. So let me know what you guys think about the whole situation, I guess, with Dan Campbell's announcement today. Did you expect it? Are you disappointed by it? I mean, do you really want to see Jimmy Rolder play this year? Or do you think it's better for the team to be able to save a roster spot? And that's where I'm at. I think that it makes the most sense. Let's get into Dan Campbell's press conference, and we'll kind of walk through it and break it down, because he said some other things in here that were pretty important. Damn it, I forgot to fix Nightbot. Totally forgot. He did talk about Sam Laporta. He's not going to miss the year. I don't think that was mentioned at all, John. But what he did say is that he got hit in the hip, or he took one in the hip. We'll listen to it, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be long term. Basically, what they said is Sam Laporta is going to be, he's just going to be down for a little bit. They don't know if it's going to leak into week 1 or not. But let's just hear from the man himself.
Do you think there's a chance you could see Jimmy Rolder back on the practice field before the end of camp? I know you guys
Hold
have
on.
full prices.
Hold on. No, we don't want that. We want this one. All right, here we go.
They're under stress. They get tired, have to work with each other. You got to stay on top of your fundamental. I just thought it was great work. So I'm pleased. Backed way off today. Shells, hour long, a little bit in the red zone. Just get the blood flowing, and then you can get them out of here. Questions?
Ask you about the backup quarterback rotation. I thought maybe we'd see a little bit more of Josh Dobbs out there, but still kind of really limited those practice reps. Is that competition for the backup job still wide open? And where's Dobbs kind of fitting in this mix right now?
It is still open. And, I see we're going to start Dobbs this game. So yes, Dave, Goff's not playing. So we'll start Dobbs, but they're both going to play equal amounts is kind of the plan here between he and Altmaier.
What do you need to see from the first preseason game to the second preseason game to feel like, okay, we're heading in the right way to the regular season? Like this is I like this.
Well, you just need to feel like things are cleaned up, that you're not making the same mistake twice. Some of these, particularly these young guys, these young players, like, okay, what did you learn from the last game? That's really what you're looking for. Is there growth when the lights are on? Like you can, in practice, you can see growth. You can see guys getting better. Okay, now you were under the lights Thursday night at Cincinnati, and now where is it at? Hey, Sheila, what's going on? How you doing back there? Steve, what's up? Okay, all good. How am I doing? But yeah, that's what you're looking for. That's what you just want to see the growth, man. Are they learning from this, and it's not too big for them, and they can take the coaching to the field when it really matters, in game time.
Just to follow up on Justin's question, two things. Because you got such good work the last couple of days, does that change your plan for playing any other starters Saturday?
It could, but I'm not quite there yet. I just know I don't see Goff playing. Yep.
And then with Dobbs, is there a specific reason why he hasn't got many reps yet? Is that just you've got to, soak Altmaier with all the work?
Well, I think it was some of it. Look, Dobbs is a bright guy. He's played in this league. But also, man, just making sure got him up to speed, being true to that. And also, Luke's a young player, but he's promising, and getting him, trying to soak him with reps. So it was just kind of a little bit of that. But we'll get a look at Dobbs here and let him go.
There's a chance you could see Jimmy Rolder back on the practice field before the end of camp. I know you guys only have 4 practices left.
Probably unlikely. He's doing well. He is progressing well, but I think it'll be hard pressed to see him next week.
Do you think maybe early in the regular season?
I do. Yep, I do.
I went back through all our conversations back through May, and I don't know how, but nobody's mentioned Eric O'Neill at any point. But obviously, he had the really nice rush against starters in the game, and then the pick six and the scrimmage the other day. Maybe doesn't fit the body type you've typically had on the edge, but what have you liked about him since?
I got to get this fixed. I don't know what happened with my account. Well, I do know what happened. I switched to that Pro, that Google Pro, and it's not supposed to have ads, and I keep getting ads. And I know I'm not signed into the wrong account, but I can't have these ads playing.
Or is it DN, like a rush DN? I know this. He's smart.
Switch back.
He plays hard. He's pretty crafty. He's got some tools in his toolbox as a rusher, and he just kind of makes plays every day. So it's hard to. He's another guy. It's hard to ignore him, And I don't want to say quiet. I think I've mentioned him before. I mean, you saw the interception the other day, in that night practice we had, and he made, had a good rush. He had some good plays in the Cincinnati game. So he's intriguing, and some of it is really fit, man. Where does he, and special teams, by the way. He makes plays in special teams every day. So, yes, we like him.
Jack played more than 99% of the defensive snaps last year. How much is that attributed to the fact that he's got the green dot, and, how much has he become indispensable essentially for the defense?
Yeah, he's just too good of a player. I mean,
so let's unpack one at a time. We've already talked about Jimmy Rolder, so let's unpack Eric O'Neill for a minute. Look, I think he's in that same position, that you've got a lot of talent on that defensive line, and unless the Lions can find another way to save a roster spot to be able to add a guy like that, I just don't know. I just don't know how they're going to do it. It was so hard to get down to 53, and I really had to work the roster gymnastics with the IR to returns. Jimmy was one. Peyton Turner was another. And then you have Cade Mays, who's another. So right there's the bottleneck. So you got to use an injury settlement somewhere. Maybe they used an injury settlement on Peyton Turner. Obviously, you're not going to do that with your rookie Jimmy Rolder. That would be crazy. It would just be stupid. You can't do that. But then again, if you have trust in the guy and if you have his word that he's going to come back, then you can do it. That's what they did with Ahmed Hassanin. They opened him up to every single team last year, and he got called by every single team, and he came back because he'll die for you, coach. Remember? I'll die for you, coach. He was coming back. Will Jimmy come back? Probably. But it's a risk you probably don't want to take. And with a vet like Peyton Turner, you already know what's there and what's not there, and you know how important it is to bring him back or not bring him back. And so that's a huge decision I wouldn't want to have to make. I know what I would do, but that's just not a decision I would really want to make. All right, he talks about Jack Campbell here.
It's, look, here's the good news with Jack. Jack is a big physical human being for the middle linebacker position, which means he can take a beating and he can deliver a beating. And that's hard in today's game. So to have a guy like him, he can take on a lot of reps. Not everybody can do that, but he's too valuable. He does everything for us. There is a chance we pull back on some of these special teams reps, because we need him on defense, and he's not coming off the field. He's just too valuable.
And in light of that, if he is off the field, who'd be the communication hub, I guess, in light of him being out, who would have that green dot?
Oh, you're talking doom right now. Don't do that. No, look, there's a number of guys we like. Rodrigo could take the green dot. Bocce could take the green dot. Now, there's a chance Now takes the green dot. Now had the green dot the other day. So we've got guys that can do that, but that's not going to happen. We've got guys that can do that, but that's not going to happen. Now there's a chance now takes the green dot. Now had the green dot the other day. So we've got guys.
Who is he saying there? I'm not making it out. Is he saying now, Niall? Who's he saying? I'm totally missing it. Did you guys catch the name there? Is there a player on this roster that I don't know exists? Oh, he's calling Nowaski. He's just calling him now. Okay, I've never heard him say that before. Robbie, I'll come back to your questions in just a moment.
That can do that, but that's not going to happen. I guess if his shoe comes off, yes, one of those guys can do that.
On the subject of snaps and reps.
All right, so let's break this down real quick because I think it's pretty important that he just mentioned a few names in there. I told y'all a couple of times, I mentioned this, that Joe Bocci is someone that I can see on this team. The question is, who do you lose? Or does he come back on the vet squad, right? Does he come back on the vet squad and he get elevated if you absolutely needed it? Look, Joe Bocci is a hell of a football player, right? He hasn't turned out to be, an all-pro or anything like that, but Joe Bocci is a very smart, very intelligent. He knows how to do it all. And probably, one of the most consistent guys out there when he's put in the situation that he's been put in as a backup and, primary special teamer. But I think it just lamented the fact that Rodrigo's making this squad. If he's expecting Rodrigo, to be able to take the green dot and be there, then either the conversation's already been had about the vet squad or he's probably on this squad. I mean, I can't imagine that he's not. I really can't. So you can put a check mark on Jack, on Barnes. You can put a check mark on Rodrigo. You could probably put a check mark on Nowaski now. And Nowaski, like he said, had the green dot last week against the Bengals. And I mentioned that in my 53-man as well. So, I mean, just those four guys alone, I just don't see where there's room outside of that. So Troy Reeder, probably not going to make it. Jimmy's going to IR. Then there's Devin White. He's not going anywhere. And the only other guys that have left to make this roster are Damone Clark and Eric Hunter. And I think that Damone Clark is pretty safe, but I think that's a battle right now between, the sixth spot between those two guys. I think that's your battle. And I don't know if it's going to be much of a battle when you look at a guy that can play all of the defense and special teams that Damone Clark can do. And then a guy like Eric Hunter, who's primary special teamer right now, not really doing that great in defense situations. And then if you're going to put him as a primary special teamer, just use Dave Phipps' words, man. You have to be fantastically perfect on special teams to be able to make a squad. I want to see Eric Hunter make a practice squad. I hope they're able to get him back. I really do, but I just don't see him making the roster right now. It would take an injury, and we don't want an injury. I would never sacrifice an injury. Robbie, let me answer your question real quick. I think I posted it there. I pinned it so I wouldn't forget it. Question was, Will, is there a reason for putting a guy on IR to protect them from being poached and give the front office more time to evaluate other candidates before making a final decision? Okay, so which IR are you speaking about? Because IR ends their season right now. If you put a player on IR, it ends their season. On cut day, you can only put 2 players designated to return from IR. That's all you get. And we have 3 right now that are candidates. Jimmy Rolder, Cade Mays, and I think Peyton Turner's more than likely. Look, Peyton hasn't been in. He hasn't been up. He hasn't played. He hasn't done anything. And if Jimmy Rolder's not going to be able to get back, I highly doubt Peyton Turner is going to be able to get back. So I think that's where Peyton Turner lives right now, is IR to return. If you end his season on IR, then that means his contract will probably toll, and then he'll be back next year. So you'd have to put him on injury settlement if you want him to play this year. So I hope that answers your question. But to answer the other side of that, do you put a player on IR to kind of save them? I guess it really depends on the player. If it's a rookie, absolutely. If you can't waste an IR to return, if you don't see where this player is going to be a meaningful impact to your team in year one as a rookie, then absolutely you put him on IR to return if you can. Or if you just feel, you know what, this guy's not going to be ready in the first year, we're just going to IR you. But at the same time, teams do that, right? All teams do that. It's not new. It's kind of like the untalked about, if that's even a word, part of the NFL. But I guess to kind of further that out a little bit, feather that out a little bit, you have to be very careful because you're only allotted 8 IRs in a season. And if you chew one of them up, in season, they can all return, right? But before cut day, they can't return. Only 2 of them can. So you have to be really careful there. You have to be really careful. Unless there's something that's changed with the rules, you get 8 in the season. If they put one of these guys on IR right now, which Kendrick Law is already on IR, I think that pretty positive that counted, towards one of their 8 for the year. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty positive. Anyway, let's get back to Dan Campbell. Did I answer your question? Hopefully I did. Good question. Great question. Oh, now I'm stuck. Hold on. Come on, I'm stuck. There we go. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Dan didn't seem super confident about Laporta for week 1. Maybe I'm just suffering from injury PTSD. Dude, you ain't lying. Well, let's get back into him.
Hutch was the only DN last year to play over 1,000 snaps. You got some fresh legs there now in DJ and Derek Moore.
Yeah.
With those guys here, is there a chance to maybe get Hutch a few extra blows per game? And how much could that potentially benefit him over the course of a game, but also over the course of a 17-game season?
Yeah, we'd like to be able to do that. And you really just alluded to it, some of the what went into that, the whys. He's another guy. It's hard to take him off the field because he does so much for us, and he doesn't get tired. He doesn't wear down. He just keeps coming. But we also know, man, if we can take some off of him, it's only going to help. Not only now, but long term. So that's in our heads. Now it's a whole different story trying to get him off the field. All right, but we'll figure that out because he doesn't want to come out. And that's a good problem to have. But it's in our mind, and that's why it's important for a guy like Derek Moore to come on. He just got back, and the good news is he's gotten 2 good days of work. That's positive, but he's got a long way to go. He just needs reps. Derek Moore needs reps, but we like what we see for the limited amount of snaps he's had so far. But it'll be big.
You got a couple more days with Juice at center. Just what have you seen from him as he's kind of get more?
So Aiden Hutchinson, very early in the draft, early in the offseason and during the draft, I had mentioned that by bringing in the guys that they were going to bring in this year was going to give the Lions, defense an opportunity to give Aiden some time off. To answer your question, hopefully I answered your question, K-Biz. Yeah, the Kai Robichaud already had the injury settlement. But to answer the question, or to I guess to feather this one out on Aiden, it's coming to fruition now, where my prediction for Aiden to get some rest this year, the need to not have to play every snap, was never about having another guy on the other side. That's not what it was about, because the guy on the other side is a different style of an edge. What it was about is finding another guy like DJ Wanham that can back up Aiden, or to find the guys that are a little bit better in the run game. Aiden's good, borderline okay in the run game. I don't believe in PFF stats at all. So we can just forget that, because like I've said in previous write-ups and here, if you believe in PFF, stop watching me now, because PFF, they're great for some of the things that they do. They're great for their basic stats and some of the analytics that they provide, but their grading system, man, that shit's for the birds. It is so wrong. It is not even possible. And I think that you're a great equalizer in that, and understanding what I'm trying to say is just go look at the first preseason game, look at our offensive linemen, and look at how one is graded extremely terribly. And I think it was Larry Borum. And then go look at, I think it was Blake Miller in his grade. I think Borum was like a 39, and I think Blake Miller was like a 67 or something like that. but yet their stats were identical. Identical. So how else are you grading them? Because their stats were identical. And see, they don't provide a front-facing statistical measurement that shows you anything different. Sports Info Solutions does. And that's why I believe in what they do so much more, because they provide the transparency, whereas PFF does not. So PFF, unfortunately, sways a lot of people's decisions on how good a player is, and it really shouldn't. It really shouldn't. So even though we're aided, I think has been in the mid to high 70s against the run game, I'm telling you, it's not that good. It's really not. I look at the missed tackle percentages. I watch the film, and he misses a lot of opportunities. He crashes in all the time, missing some opportunities. He gets wide and too deep all the time. And hopefully that changes this year. And I think it will change simply because of the scheme. When you have nickel out there, you don't need Aiden to do some of the things that he was doing. Right? Now he can set an edge or he can fire after the quarterback. You pick one. You know that you got a guy backing you up now in nickel. You might have that extra DB on your side. So if Aiden's free firing the quarterback, you got another guy backing you up that can firm up that run game, fit right behind Aiden and take care of the situation. So I think that's going to provide Aiden a lot more opportunities this year too. I really do. I think that not just against the run game, I think in the pass rush game, I think that Aiden's going to have a lot more opportunities with nickel. But I think we're also going to see a lot of resting, for Aiden, which is good. And Dan's exactly right, man. Like, Aiden gets tired. We've seen it. Aiden gets exhausted. He said it himself. But he also needs to last into the, deep parts of the fourth quarter and the fourth quarter of the season. The last 4 or 5 games of the season. That's where you need Aiden to show up. Because once playoffs hit, man, there's no going back and asking for time off. And Aiden can't be stubborn this year. If Shepard is saying, dude, I need you out, he's got to get out. He has to, because it's not about today, it's about tomorrow. And if today's already won, get the hell out, man. Take some time off. I get it that, he wants to break some records and he wants to get all the sacks in the world, but that stuff is not more important than winning the championship for this team. So hopefully those things are growing on Aiden. I think they are. I think Aiden is, just like anybody. He came in really mature. But I think, just like any player, they still mature. And I think that he's grown into an incredible ambassador of the team, but also a player that is growing on the field. And you're seeing it. So I think there's big things yet to come this year for Aiden. Doesn't mean 20 sacks, doesn't mean 24 sacks, but I think that he's going to be a better player this year because of the scheme.
Reps there and work with Jared more.
Yeah, well, I think it's been probably what you would imagine a little bit. He just got back, and now he's exclusive center, and it's just there's been a little bit of we got to kick some of the rust off of here. We got to, we got to get a little bit of that off there and let those guys work together. But I did think yesterday was better, and particularly in a lot of that situational work to where they got to be on the same page with some stuff. And the rest of the O-line, I think those only help. Like I say, Juice has played center. He's played in real games. He's suited for it. And it's just really about he getting up to speed with golf and some of our calls and then those, being on the same page with the guards and everything. But time on task, and we got time to get there. So, I like I said, I see Juice playing in this game with that O-line. And so this will be good work for them.
Mentioned Ben Barch as a challenger for that starting left guard job. We haven't seen him out there the last 2 days. Obviously, he missed some time at the start of camp. I'm just wondering if you can provide an update on him, and then with only 4 practices left, do you think there's a time for him to kind of make you feel comfortable with him winning that job?
It's a good question. He's in concussion protocol, so he got dinged, I guess, a couple of days ago, and so. No, it's hard to say that. It's real hard to say that over 4 practices or whatever. It doesn't mean it can't, but that window is shrinking right now. So the most important thing is for him to get to where he feels right again and to where he can go. He's healthy, he feels good, and he can start practicing, and then we'll see. But no, I think that window is closing quickly.
Do you feel like you have the body types and depth in the edge room to kind of mix and match the season based on
Okay, this is another big development here. Again, in my 53-man roster, I'm pretty sure I made the statement that the Lions could go with 8. They need a minimum of 8. And the reason why is because when you have 8 players, 8 offensive linemen on your game day roster, you gain an additional player to add to your roster that day. I think it's 46 that you get on game day. And then you're going to have, that 47th player. Again, I could be wrong with the numbers, but I think I'm good there. Let me know if you know something different, obviously. Correct me in the chat or comments later. But the goal is obviously to get the best 8, right? Or best 7. I don't think they're going to go with 7. I think they have to keep 8 no matter what. If Ben Barch is not going to make this roster, and he's now in concussion protocol, and then he was out for a long period of time before before training camp even started, where are they going next? Does this mean that they end up keeping Seth McLaughlin and or Michael Neese and keep 3 centers? Hopefully that, both of those players can learn some guard. That may be the answer. I mean, right now you have Miles Frazier that can play all 4 positions, not center. You have, and I honestly feel like he's a better tackle than he is a guard. That's just my personal opinion. And you have Mahogany, one of the starting guards. But who's going to be the other guard? Are they looking at bringing someone in? Are they looking at trading for somebody? Probably not. I think the cut day, you're going to find out that there might be some players available. This could be another roster that the Lions end up with 51 or 52, and they leave an immediate spot open, and they're going to slow walk it. I'm telling you right now, the Lions are going to slow walk this cut day as much as they can. I'll be putting out some information in a week or so. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want people to continually steal my content. But you'll see what I'm talking about. And I think that they're going to slow walk this because they want to see who's getting released early and where they might be able to strike. Because as soon as someone gets released, they have a whole team of people watching every team's cut. And so as soon as someone's released, then I guess oh my God, who is this idiot? Knight of the Universe 777. Yeah, you are definitely not an idiot. You're an absolute fool. Thank God for having things that are limiting the idiocy on my channel with hiding your comment. Mods, I'm sure you can see that right now. Adios. Wow, what a terrible message that was. Absolutely nuts. So anyway, where was I? Now I lost my train of thought. Where was I? Talking about the guards. I don't know who else we have on this roster that they can honestly shove down at the guard position. I really don't. It's kind of slim pickings. You have, well, let me just go to my 53. Let me open it up. And I'm making some adjustments to DetroitFootballJournal.com. I'm experimenting with backgrounds and colors and all that stuff because I'm just trying to make it better. I'm trying to make it look better. And so it's taken me a minute to get it updated today, but I'm close. And I would love your feedback. If there's certain colors that look better than others, please let me know. I'm trying to make it look Detroit Lions-ish, but at the same time, be readable on every device. So offensive line, I had Penei Sewell, Christian Mahogany, Juice Scruggs, Tate Ratledge, Blake Miller. Backups, I had Larry Borum, right tackle, left tackle, Miles Frazier, tackle guard, Ben Barch, right guard, left guard, Michael Neese at center. Seth McLaughlin's gaining, and he's gaining fast. We'll find out Sunday-ish what I think about that after the game. I had Devin Cochran, Melvin Priestley, and Colby Sorsdahl out, and I had the assumed roster placements as Mason Miller and Seth McLaughlin as practice squad, IR to return Cade Mays, reserve NFI Giovanni Manu. This changes the conversation now, doesn't it? If Ben Barch can't make it back, and the fact that they have not done anything with a settlement for the injury to Giovanni Manu, and they have not placed him on IR, well, welcome back to the roster, Giovanni Manu, because he might be inserted as one of the guard backups, and he just might make this roster. And I hope to God that we see the meltdown of all meltdowns from the idiots that think that Giovanni Manu was a terrible pick and a wasted roster spot, because there's still something left in this guy. There is. And the fact that they're putting him in at guard tells you that they don't want to lose him if they can develop him at the right position. So right now, my thought is Giovanni Manu is still safe. I don't know how, but he's still safe right now. And I think what benefits him is the fact that Miles Frazier can play both guard spots and tackle spots, in that Larry Borum can play all the tackle spots. I thought I heard that he could play guard too, and I don't know if he's ever played guard in his previous years. He's definitely a better tackle probably than a guard. But I don't know about Michael Neese's experience at guard, and I don't know what they've been doing with Seth McLaughlin. I haven't heard, read, or seen anything, and I, of course, didn't see anything yesterday at practice because they're on the other side of the damn field. I didn't see any of those guys taking guard snaps. And they might have. They might have been because they were down Ben Barch. So very, very interesting development here, this late into training camp, headed to the 53-man cut day in a week. A week, y'all. Like, they got 4 practices left. A week, and we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty. Anyway, that's it about that. Let's get back to Dan.
Situations.
This is what happens to a...
Oh, come on, y'all. Hold on. These stupid things, man. I'm going to fix this today. I'm just going to get back in and pay for the regular premium. I paused it through September because of this Google AI Pro that gives it to you. That gives you a YouTube Premium Lite. And I never had an ad, ever, until I started showing it, doing this with Dan Campbell.
He's crafty. He knows how to use it. I'm going to say all.
Do you feel like you have the body types and depth in the edge room to kind of mix and match the season based on situations?
With where at?
In the edge room.
The edge? Yeah, defensive. I got you. I think all of those, yeah, as it pertains to edge, I'm going to say all of it between the interior and on the perimeter. Because, look, Wanham has had a really good camp. Like, I would love where Wanham's at right now, man. He's another one of these guys. He's a smart football player. He's crafty. He knows how to use his length. He's got a couple of different rushes that are a little bit of a problem, and plays the run. So between that, Hutch, I think Derek Moore, he just needs reps. That's a good thing. And then we got Liam, he's been a terror in the middle, and that hadn't slowed down at all. That's just kept coming. So, any one of those improved just a little bit. You get a little bit more press up there. And by the way, Tyleek's having a good camp, You get a little bit more push up the middle or get an edge and flush the quarterback to Wanham, or I'm talking about, half a yard, a step, or whatever that is, to Hutch or Wanham. That's good news, Wanham pushes a little bit, he's pushing to Hutch. Hutch pushes a little bit, he's pushing to Wanham. So any little bit, and I think all of those guys are just going to elevate each other's games. So I like where we're at.
Dave, do you have an update on Sam Laporta?
I do. So Sam, the other night, he got hit in the hip. And it flared up a little bit. It's a little aggravated, but we feel good long term about him. We're resting him for a little bit here and letting it calm down.
Season?
What's that?
Something that could go into the season?
Well, I don't know, Dave. I don't know. I feel like we'll be okay, but I don't know.
You mentioned a couple weeks ago, you and Brad were going to try to avoid doing a total eval till the end, sort of maybe as a bit of a change. Why did you decide to do that? Or whose idea was that?
No, I mean, I think that we've kind of always been that way a little bit. We just, well, that's not true. I know where you're going. Normally, we all get together with the scouts, coaches in front of each other. We'll go, whatever, once a week or after the first 2 weeks, then we go. But I think it was a little bit more just for efficiency's sake. And I see what I see. He's getting what he's getting, what he sees, scouts. And then, hey, man, as this thing starts to get a little bit closer, let's get together and kind of start kicking some things around. So I think it's a little bit of that, probably more efficiency. Like when you do those big meetings, man, those things go for 4 or 5 hours. And, man, there's a lot of things that, like, we don't need to talk about Panay Sewell again, you know. And so I just think there's some things to where this is just a better way to do it, because, look, at the end, it's about Brad and myself. And I know what I see. He knows what he sees, and then us coming together. Now, that being said, when I told you that the other day, probably 30 minutes later, I went up there and we were talking about it. So
is it sort of like keeping a clear vision for yourself and separating those visions at all?
Well, I think that helps, and I think that's a little of it. Let's not get, you know, because you can get skewed. You know, that's human nature. If you're in there with the coaches and you get nothing but coach's perspective, then that's all it is, and that's the last thing you hear. And just like if I heard nothing but the scouts, you could be skewed by that a little bit, you know. And so it just kind of keeps you independent and stay true to the film, what you see in practice, and then go from there.
Dan, real quick, sorry, I was watching your interview with Brad a couple nights ago, and
Okay, so let's get back to Sam Laporta here. I didn't hear anything in here that sounded long term. You know, he's got this hip issue, got banged on the hip, is what he said the other day. I mean, it could just be a bone contusion, which happens often, and it's more than likely going to be minor. This is not going to be an IR thing. It's not going to be an extended thing. I doubt that he misses week 1. I mean, we've seen Sam Laporta play through worse, but if it does limit his running ability, then yeah, that's going to cause a problem. I mean, Sam has been amazing since he's been back this year. And so I think that they don't want to risk. They don't want to risk Sam Laporta having any sort of a setback or, you know, from his recovery from the back injury. And they don't want to, you know, because hips and backs are related, right? If you got a bad back, your hips are going to be out. If you got bad hips, your back's going to be out. It's just the way that it works. I don't know how to explain it better than that because I'm not a doctor, but I just know from firsthand that you know, they're both, you know, closely related. But if it's just a bone contusion, then yeah, it could take time. But we've seen guys, you know, that have had these bone issues this year already that have been out maybe a day or 2 or 3 at the most. Just don't know what it is until we get a firm answer. And maybe that won't happen for a couple of days, or maybe it'll happen tomorrow until we get a firm answer. But there has been no definitive information that has been released since I've been live anyway about Sam Laporta's exact injury and what it is moving forward. And again, if anyone else is saying something different, you know, there's speculation, and then there's, you know, certain people that just like to make stuff up, you know, for content, and it's just not accurate. You know, no one's going to know what's really going on until they release the medical stuff. I can't get my hands on medical stuff. The only time that I've ever gotten information is if I know, you know, someone that knows someone that gets information, but medical stuff is extremely difficult. That stuff does not leak out of the building. It just doesn't. I mean, it's from player to coach to GM and trainers, and that's about it. Those are the only people that know information. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. And so far, Dan this year has been very spot on with every call that he has made outside of Kirby, right? Kirby is always 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Well, that's been going on since the frickin' combine, right? That's the only one that they've kind of been playing hide the weenie with, is what I call it. But every other call that Dan has made where he said, I don't think it's a big deal, I don't think this is serious, every single one of those has worked out this year. So I think he's been very transparent, very open, very forthright with all of the injuries, and making sure that he's given good information. It doesn't benefit them, you know, unless it's a player that they're trying to keep, and, you know, like it just wouldn't benefit them. It really wouldn't. And it's not like they're not keeping Sam. So, all right, we got like just a few more minutes with Dan, and then we'll get to the rest.
Picture of you guys from 18 years ago, which is incredible. What would it take for you to bring that flow back this season?
Oh. Well, you know, it grew out a little bit last year. I had it just a little bit, and boy, it's not the same. It's I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. So, I think I'm done with that. I think those days are done. Yeah. It's a good question, though.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Reporter from Germany. I know it's early days, but can you tell us a little bit about how you prepare for this game against the Patriots, and also get us a little bit excited? We are already, but even more.
Yeah, so I think it's unique because it's, you know, that game will be one of these. We're going to try to prepare here and get a lot of our game plan, get the
All right, not great news. Midstream here, just released about 60 seconds ago. We have a breaking news injury update for Ennis Rakestraw. Apparently, he has left practice to be evaluated for a potential lower leg injury, according to Jeremy Reisman on Twitter, courtesy of Trace. Thank you for sending that over. Not good news. Not good news. Not good news. Man, Ennis has been a menace this year. He's been playing really well. Really, really, really well. And I don't want this for the guy because all it does is drum up the haters, man. And look, football's football, right? I mean, football is football, and you're going to get injured. Things are going to happen. And this is not about practicing hard, right? This is not about any of that. It really isn't. It's just crap is going to happen. And so we'll have to figure out, dig in and get more information as soon as we can. But I assume that this is going to be a day or two before we find out. It'll at least be tomorrow. And honestly, I don't even know if they're practicing tomorrow. I think that today's the last practice for a day. And then I think they come back. No, this is the last practice of the week. Tomorrow they're off, or they're doing walkthroughs and prep and all that good stuff. They got the game on Saturday. So, yeah, this is the last practice of the day. So we probably won't find out, which, you know, unless Ennis is in the game on Saturday, that's probably when we're going to find out. Because they don't have to put out any injury designations or game designations or any of that during the preseason. So this just sucks, man. It really just freaking sucks for Ennis. Golly, man. Anyway, let's get back to it.
This guy's been everywhere tonight. He got drilled by Jack Campbell again.
Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet. Jack Campbell wraps him up. Doesn't get any better than that. Textbook linebacker play. What the f*** I'm talking about?
All right,
At
so
the start, you get to pick a shelter free.
Oh, come on. We were right at the point of the German. I think it's the Germany team that's there. The Germany. Hold on. Oh, never mind. False alarm. That's the Germany reporters, right? The German media that's there. I guess is who's there. And I think that they came in with Sheila, if I'm not mistaken. That's the whole thing that kind of transpired early in today's press conference that we're asking the questions. I think that's where we left off. So we're going to get back to that with Dan and then finish out the press conference.
true to the film, what do you see in practice, and then go from there.
Dan, real quick, sorry. I was watching your interview with Brad a couple nights ago, and the picture of you guys from 18 years ago.
Let me fast forward this.
I think I'm done.
This game against the Patriots.
Those days are done. Yeah. It's a good question, though.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Reporter from Germany. I know it's early days, but can you tell us a little bit about how you prepare for this game against the Patriots and also get us a little bit excited? We are already, but even more.
Yeah, so I think it's unique because it's, that game will be one of these. We're going to try to prepare here and get a lot of our game plan, get the guys ready. And then for us, we're getting on the plane at night, call it Thursday night for a Sunday game, flying, we land, we stay awake, and now we're right into the next practice to get ready, and the players will have just a little bit of downtime the day before the game to kind of check the sites out and get a lay of the land and all that. But they're dealing with that too. The Patriots are going through the same thing. But as far as we're excited to go over there. Because look, we're Germany's team too. So we're not just America's, we're Germany's team. But we're looking forward to it. And St. Brown's, he's got lineage and heritage over there, and that means something to us too. And so we're pretty excited about going over there and playing. It's going to be a home game for us.
Yeah, the German fans are really excited, like Tiziana said. Do you have some words for them maybe?
For who? I'm sorry.
German fans.
I think I just said it. We're Germany's team. we're excited to go over there, and we want to represent, and we want to show you about NFL football and the way that we think it should be played, and put on a show. Thanks, guys. Okay.
And the show we shall see. Pretty cool, man, to have them in there popping off some questions to Dan Campbell. I love the fact that we're Germany's team. That's pretty cool. While I was at practice yesterday, I was looking at tickets and flights and all that. And no, I'm not gonna beg my audience to pay my way to do things like, yeah, of course we get super chats and we get all that stuff. Look, if you can't pay your own way, you probably shouldn't go. But absolutely want to go and want to make it happen. And so I'd be leaving from Miami because I'll be at the Miami game. And then I'd have to leave the 10th from Miami and fly out to Germany and then come home probably the 16th would be my plan. So spend the first few days there as opposed like the middle. I was going to go out on the Thursday, come back on like a Wednesday, but I think it would just make more sense to leave straight from Miami. And might be a little bit longer of a flight. I never even looked at that. I should probably take that into consideration. But it wasn't that bad. It was like $2,000, all inclusive, hotel, car, flight, all that good stuff. I don't know if I want a car though, but I really don't want to trust traveling with some Uber driver. I don't even know if they have Uber out there. Taxis. I know they got the Autobahn or the Bahn, that is a little like a railway or like a bus. They got both, but like a little railway that you can take from like most of the major hotels right into Alliance Stadium. And so I plan on taking that to the stadium, but driving in Germany would be different. I've never driven in a foreign country outside of Mexico. Like other than that, I've never really driven in a foreign country. I've always taken public or like chartered private vehicles. Now I'm interested to see how long my flight would be. It is longer. It's damn near 12 hours to go from Miami to Munich. Golly. Detroit is 8.5 hours. So it's probably worth just going back home then. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to be in a plane for 12 hours unless I'm in first class because I'm going to want to sleep. That's for sure. All right, so I guess to break the rest of this down, man. Look, I think that we're going to be all right. Really, really disappointed that Ennis Rakestraw is going through something again. But I think some good things came out of today's press conference, kind of getting an understanding and where this team lays right now headed into Saturday. But Saturday is going to be a big opportunity, right? We've been wanting, at least I've been wanting to see more of Josh Dobbs. He's going to get to start. That does not mean that the quarterback situation is settled. Like Dan said, it just means that he's going to get a better look in this game. They're slowly getting him, ramped up with the playbook. And I do think that Dobbs is going to win, the opportunity. What's weird is this morning, someone on Twitter, let me see if I can go find that real quick. Because someone was talking about the quarterback situation. And I didn't quite understand. Mike Payton said, the Detroit Lions may need to go quarterback shopping after what we've seen this week with the old big eyes, right? And then it says, and one former second-round pick could be about to hit the market at exactly the right time. And so the player that he was thinking the Lions should be shopping for, who is that player? Will Levis. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on Will Levis. Like, how is Will Levis an upgrade over over Dobbs. Yeah, he's got a bigger body. But isn't he afraid of milk? You know what I'm saying? Isn't he afraid of milk? Doesn't drink milk? Not that it matters, but it's just kind of a funny haha. I'll just read what he said. He said the Detroit Lions may need to go to quarterback shopping after what we've seen this week, blah, 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 blah. He says, if there's one thing I learned from Detroit Lions practice on Wednesday is that the Lions probably do not see Josh Dobbs as their backup quarterback. Why would you think that? As of Wednesday, what made you think that? Because Luke was getting the majority of the snaps? So what? Like, they want to get the rookie a ton of snaps. Josh Dobbs is light years ahead of Luke Altmaier as far as development. The only thing holding Josh Dobbs back is the playbook, right? He's only been in camp for a little over a week, and he's only been on the field a handful of times because they only had a handful of practices. They had a game last Thursday. He literally had, 2 practices before they had a game, and then or 3 practices before they had a game. And I don't even think he was in on the first practice. I think that he was kind of still in street clothes, if I remember correctly. So Dobbs is into a situation where he has a lot more growth in the playbook area. That's why you're going to see a lot more of Luke. He's been there since day one. And I think Dan just settled that whole thing up this morning or this afternoon in the press conference, where he said why that was happening. And then he goes in to say that when Detroit signed Dobbs, it felt more like a kicking the tires type of a move. He had been in the building before in 2022 for only a few weeks, but there was some familiarity there. And he didn't say why he was there for a few weeks. I did in my article. The reason why he was only there for a few weeks is because the Titans poached him off the practice squad, and he played immediately. So that's why he was only here. And that was in 2022. The familiarity is not with the Lions. The familiarity is with Drew Petzing. He was with Drew Petzing in Cleveland in 23. He was with Drew Petzing in, Cleveland in 22. And he was with Drew Petzing in Arizona in 23 and played at least 8 or 9 games in Arizona. Goes on to say, his first practice, he didn't practice. Well, of course not. He just got in the damn building. He sat off to the side with the quarterback's coach, Mark Brunell, threw the ball a few times, but never got in any drills. The second practice brought a little bit more action. And then in the preseason game, he played a quarter. Well, he played a quarter because that was the plan. It's not because of that he's not a good quarterback. He doesn't know the playbook. Where is he going to say in here that he doesn't know the playbook yet? We'll find out if he even says it. He says, I thought Dobbs looked okay during that quarter, but after the half, the Lions just put quarterback Luke Altmaier in. At that point, it's clear they see Altmaier as a better option. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Because that's not the plan. The plan was for Luke to play 3 out of the 4 quarters. Matter of fact, that was said before the game that the plan was for Luke to play 3 out of the 4 quarters. And I think it was Lomas Brown and the new girl, Brooke, that said that before the game, that was the plan. This dude's a beat reporter. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hate on the guy, but I know this stuff. I printed this stuff a week ago. And why don't like you're selling it to the fan base without giving them the real information? I don't understand that. And so then he said Wednesday's practice told the whole story. This week made things worse for Dobbs. When I was there on Wednesday, I would say that Altmaier got 96% of the Lions snaps at the quarterback at the quarterback 2 spot. Dobbs came in for roughly a drive during 7-on-7s, threw for a few passes, and then there was nothing about those passes that made you go, oh, okay, this guy's going to make the team. Actually, Dobbs completed a pretty solid pass, and Jared Goff was in like the majority of the practice that I saw. So there were 4 practices left and 2 preseason games. I'm sure Dobbs will get some reps on Saturday, 50%, and now he's starting. And maybe he looks good and changes some minds, but at this point, I just don't see it. You can make 2 arguments here. The first is that Altmaier is a rookie. Of course, the Lions want to make sure he gets a bunch of snaps, because Dobbs is a veteran who has played for plenty of teams. Maybe they feel he can sit this one out, and they'll evaluate what Altmaier can do with the reps that he's given. But that's not what you're seeing. What you're actually seeing is Altmaier getting all the reps, all of them. Dude, That is just, I'm sorry. It's pathetic. It's pathetic reporting. I'm sorry. You can hate me all you want, but if you're going to write stuff like this and I see it, I'm going to talk about it. You know, I've warned everybody. I've given everybody fair warning. I don't go on to channels, or I don't go on my channel and talk personal things about people. I don't talk negative about people's personal looks, or, you know, I don't cyberbully them. I don't slander or defame or lie about them. This is called critiquing what somebody wrote. That's what it is. I'm critiquing it. I'm critiquing it because it's not accurate. And when it's not accurate, it deserves to be critiqued. If I'm not accurate, I deserve to be critiqued. I can take it. I know that I work my ass off, and sometimes you just don't put everything together, and sometimes you miss a few things, or maybe you put something fantastic together and you left a few really important points out. I do it all the time. I'll go back and watch something. I'm like, damn, why didn't I say this? You know, why did I forget to talk about that? Well, sometimes you're rushed, you know, and that's no excuse. It's just reality. And we're not all perfect, but that is not even wholly accurate at all. And Dan Campbell just cleared it up. And they cleared it up before the game last week. So I'll leave that alone. But and I'm not saying Josh Dobbs is making this team either. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying that it would make more sense that Dobbs would go on the vet squad. It would be very, very of an, you know, tough situation to put Altmaier down and then have him clear waivers. I don't think it's going to happen. Look, I also don't think he's done enough in camp or in preseason game number 1 for another team to be really interested. So let's just pivot to something else real quick. Yeah, Jay Mommy, it's crazy, and the information that I heard today is even crazier. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I've already called one of the owners of Woodward Sports. They got fair warning. I'm not playing. So, one bit of slander or defamation tomorrow, I'm coming. And that's not a threat, man. That's a promise. That is a promise. I am coming. Full weight of the legal authority. So anyway, let's dip into something else. What team would want Luke Altmaier right now? Any ideas? Does anybody have an idea? Honestly, I don't. I don't have an idea because I haven't spent the time to look. But let's look real quick. I think it's fairly easy to figure out to a point of who would want him. So let me get all the rosters up. We did this the other day. Matter of fact, it was the last time we did this was the day that I found Josh Dobbs, and I said, that's the dude. That's the one that makes the most sense right there. And not even an hour later, Josh Dobbs was the dude, and he was signed by the Lions. But let's go in and take a look at who has what for quarterbacks. Just make sure I'm signed in, otherwise this thing's going to freak out. Come on. There we go. All right, here we go. Let me move that over a little bit. One of these days, I am going to figure out how I can go from screen to screen to screen and the size work. But like I said, I'm probably just going to get rid of this border thing. I know it may look decent, but maybe I'll just put my picture on the screen. I know it seems silly, but it's kind of important when you're doing breakdowns or of videos because you have to be critiquing a video to avoid, copyright and all this other stuff. So that's why it's there. Otherwise, I'd prefer to be off screen. All right, so let's start with Arizona. They have right here Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, Carson Beck, Keaton Slovis. We can stop right there. I doubt that they get rid of Carson Beck. Carson Beck has had a really good camp. And as far as Arizona is considered, let's go back to that. 53-man roster. So Arizona. In 2025, their initial 53-man roster had two quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett. So it might be unlikely that they keep three. If Gardner Minshew got released, which I can't see how, now that would be a player that I would bring in. Absolutely. Absolutely. If Carson Beck got released, that would be a player that I'm bringing in. But he was drafted in the third round. I just don't see it. So what's going to happen here? Is Gardner Minshew going to go on the vet squad? Could happen. But they don't need a quarterback. I guess that's the most important thing. Atlanta Falcons. They have Penix, Tua, Jack Strand, and Cooper Rush. So is Cooper Rush a player that could be interesting? Yes. Could be. But they don't need a quarterback. They're set. I can't imagine that they would value Luke Altmaier over Cooper Rush. Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley, Joey Fagnano, and Austin Reed. So they have their two in Tyler Huntley and Lamar Jackson. Do they need Luke Altmaier? They don't. They absolutely don't. And what was Baltimore's 53 last year? I don't think any teams in the league carried three quarterbacks last year. They had two, Lamar Jackson and Cooper Rush. So they're going to carry two, and I don't see them getting rid of Tyler Huntley, because if they did, that would be a player you bring in. Buffalo. Josh Allen, Kyle Allen, Shane Buechele, whatever. I don't see them needing a quarterback. I'm surprised that Kyle Allen's over there. It's crazy. Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett, Haynes King, Kyle Trask. Yeah, I don't see them moving off of Kenny Pickett or Bryce Young for Luke Altmaier. Chicago Bears. The winners of Marcus Davenport. Wouldn't that be nuts if Marcus Davenport sticks on that squad and then comes and terrorizes us in a game? Wouldn't that just be crazy? That would be like, I would hate it, but at the same time, I would just sit back laughing with the old victory laugh that it finally clicked, Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent, Case Keenum, they have an excellent problem over there with the quarterbacks. Do they keep three? Let's take a look at what they did last year. Oh my goodness, this has got to be the worst site in the world. They had Tyson Bagent, Caleb Williams. Nope, I'm sorry. It is last year's. They did keep three. Hold on, this can't be right. Where's the initial 53? Why are they the only team that it doesn't pop up right away. Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent, Case Keenum. So they did keep 3 last year. So there's one team. There's one team. And again, I don't see them needing Luke Altmaier. All right, Bengals. Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco, Josh Johnson. They're not walking. They're not adding Luke Altmaier. Browns, don't they have 15 quarterbacks now? Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel. They're not walking away of anybody to bring in Luke Altmaier. Now, if they get rid of Taylon Green, now that could be a player that you might want to bring in to put on, on a squad. But the problem is, if he ends up on a practice squad over there, then you'd have to sign him to the 53, and I just don't see that being. I don't see that being a realistic possibility. I don't. Because then that means you're getting rid of Luke Altmaier. Because I don't think you're getting rid of Josh Dobbs. Dallas, Joe Milton, Dak Prescott, and Sam Howell. They don't need Luke Altmaier. Denver Broncos, Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, Sam Ellinger. They don't need Luke Altmaier in their top 2. I don't know enough about Sam Ellinger. But I would say initially they're not going to carry a third quarterback. We'll skip past the Lions, Green Bay, Jordan Love, Tyrod Taylor, Kyle McCord. They don't need a third quarterback. They definitely don't need a second. Let's look at the Packers' initial 53. They had 2 quarterbacks, Malik Willis and Jordan Love. That was it. Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, Davis Mills, Brett Ripien. They don't need Luke Altmaier. Please get rid of Davis Mills, though. That's who I want in Detroit. I wanted him for a couple years, man. He's a really good quarterback for a backup. Indianapolis Colts, Daniel Jones, Riley Leonard, Anthony Richardson. They're good. And Anthony Richardson might actually be cut. And please, no, not in Detroit. Jacksonville Jaguars. How many of you guys think that Anthony Richardson should have been a different position? I've always said, man, that if he would have been a running back, even a tight end, man, he would have been such a better player. He loves to run too much. Jacksonville has Trevor Lawrence, Nick Mullins, Carter Bradley, and Joey Aguilar. And I would say that they're good. They don't need a third. Kansas City Chiefs. Remember, that's the whole thing. To clear waivers and to get signed by another team, you have to go to the 53. If you don't clear waivers, if you clear waivers and then get signed, yeah, you can go to a practice squad. But to be able to poach this player away from the Lions, they're going to have to sign him to the 53. And I think that is a long shot right now. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Fields, Garrett Nussmeier, they're solid over in Kansas City. Chargers, Herbert, Lance, this last guy, DJ, they're good. They don't need a third guy. Rams, Stafford, Stetson Bennett, Ty Simpson, we know they're solid. Raiders, Cousins, Mendoza, Aiden O'Connell, man, they're loaded over there. They're loaded. They're good. Dolphins, Malik Willis, Quinn Ewers, Cam Miller, Mark Gronowski, not Gronkowski, Gronowski. I'd say they're solid. They're not going to keep 3. Vikings, Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz, Max Brosmer. They're good. Now, Max Brosmer, I'm kind of interested in. And if Carson Wentz gets cut, I would be interested in bringing him in, to be honest with you. Patriots, Drake May, Tommy DeVito. Now, they don't need a third, and I'm pretty positive the Patriots' initial 53 last year didn't have a third. They had 2. Josh Dobbs, Drake May. Look at that. Josh Dobbs made the initial 53-man roster last year. But yet, we feel that Luke Altmaier is better than Josh Dobbs. I think, the only reason why Luke Altmaier makes the roster is if the Lions absolutely feel he won't clear waivers. And that's what we're going to settle up. That's what we're doing right now. Trying to settle it up. Saints, who we'll see here in just a couple weeks. They got Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, and Zach Wilson. Well, they're solid. Zach Wilson, man, if he gets cut, is that a player that you want in Detroit? New York Giants, Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, Brandon Allen, Jake Haener. Now, wasn't Haener, didn't he just try out for the Lions? And then did he end up in New York? He just tried out for the Lions, didn't he? Almost positive he did. All right, Jets. Who do they have? Geno Smith, Cade Klubnik, Brady Cook, Bailey Zapp. Is Bailey Zapp a guy you want in Detroit? Is Brady Cook a guy you want in Detroit? I mean, those could be 2 possibilities as players that you add later. But again, are you going to lose a guy that you just developed? I don't know, man. I don't know. Now, could you add another quarterback to your roster just to add one to your practice squad? Yes, you could. And the Lions might do that. They might add an extra an extra quarterback to their squad. Now, it depends if they stay there or not. How about the Eagles? Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee, Andy Dalton, Cole Payton. Man, that's a tough room right there. Andy Dalton's probably going to get cut, but does he have the handshake deal in? Is that a quarterback that you want in Detroit? Maybe. Maybe. All right, how about the Steelers? Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, Drew Aller. I mean, that is an interesting room right there. I like Drew Aller. I'm not a big fan of Mason Rudolph, but he is a decent quarterback. Drew Aller, man, rookie this year. Is that somebody you want in Detroit? I think you only have room for one rookie. But again, maybe they add another one to the practice squad. Seahawks. Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, Jalen Milroe. They're solid. Niners, Purdy, Mac Jones, Curtis Rourke, Adrian Martinez. They're solid. I don't know why we let Adrian Martinez go. I thought he was playing pretty well. But we don't know what we don't know, right? Niners are good. Bucks, Mayfield, Jake Browning, Connor Bazalik, and Jalen Daniels. I mean, they're good. They're not going to carry 3. So unless Altmaier wants to go to somebody else's practice squad, which I couldn't imagine he would want to play with another group of guys, who wouldn't want to play with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs? I mean, that he's like living the dream for a rookie quarterback right now, playing with some of the best, I mean, honestly, the best guys in the league at their position. Cam Ward, Mitchell Trubisky, Will Levis for the Tennessee Titans. Again, Will Levis more than likely going to get chopped. I don't see him coming to Detroit right now. They also have Hendon Hooker. I don't see that happening again. I think that experiment's over. Commanders, Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota, Sam Hartman, Athan Kaliakamanis. Ooh, I got that name right. That was tough. Again, I don't see them adding a third. I don't see them needing a rookie. And that's it. Look, I just don't see where the Lions are going to go quarterback shopping. I really don't. I think that they would probably rather feel more comfortable with the guy that they developed, knowing that this guy's developed for the season and that they're going to continue to develop them. And Josh Dobbs brings that veteran everything to the table. Look, he's not a world beater, right? Josh Dobbs is not going to, as a starter, he's probably not going to go out there and win you 10 games. But on this roster, he probably could. He probably could. He's got legs. He can move around. So does Altmaier. And he has a good arm. And you've got, I mean, some of the most rarest Ferraris in the league on your team. You need to be a better than average quarterback to play really well on this offense. And to be an elite quarterback like Jared Goff, that's what takes the offense to another level. You know, without his decision making, his awareness, his processing speed, his accuracy, the intelligence, I mean, Goff takes it to a different level. The offense is perfect for him because of how he plays the game. By the way, yesterday I didn't share the bobblehead, but this is the JMO bobblehead. I'm sure you guys have already seen it. Come on, focus. Focus. I think they did a pretty good job, man. I like it. I think they did a good job. His face looks kind of chubby, but I think it's a good one. We'll stack it with the other 50 of them I got, man. Oh, shit. Brad Holmes about to fall over. Oh, actually, I'll find a spot for him later. I got to redo that whole damn thing. All right, anyway. I haven't been in the chat for like 20 minutes, so I don't know what y'all thinking, but yeah, that's a good statement there, J-Mom. Says, Richardson only started 13 games in college. Yeah, those one-year wonders, man. Those one-year wonders. It is crazy that he was drafted. I mean, some of us saw that coming a mile away. Like, you just don't take those risks. But unfortunately, you know, there's some players that just have those gifts, right? And he had the gifts. He is an amazing athlete, cannon for an arm. But sometimes those gifts don't translate. And his didn't translate. He kept getting injured too much. And he ran too much. If he just wouldn't run as much, then I think that he could have developed more. But man, once you get hit a few times, in the league, I think it might start to kind of change how you feel, and you start getting scared, and then that changes everything. All right, the Dominic Lovett article is going to be dropping here in just a moment. Anything else we need to touch on before I get out of here? I've been on a lot longer than I expected. This is supposed to just be a breaking news breakdown, but it's kind of more of a camp breakdown too. Tilly, you better keep on pumping it, man. You're way behind, buddy. Sanders, you don't think that Shedeur Sanders is going to make it, J-Mommy? I think he will. I think he will, man. Like any quarterback, they're going to have their days, right? And every time that Shedeur Sanders misses a throw, like the media crucifies the guy. And it all stems back to his dad. And yeah, just kind of a weird situation. Let's talk about something else real quick I didn't touch on. I didn't even do a video or nothing on it. The Terrion Arnold video with Schneider over in Seattle. Did you guys watch that? I'm sure you all did. And now Terrion Arnold on the exempt list. Like, come on, we knew this was coming. We knew it was coming. And so Seattle had to have known that it was coming. And then they brought in Travion Diggs, who the Lions obviously passed on. I'm probably going to get hit for playing this. All right, let's listen to this call. And then I'm gonna break that down real quick too. I thought it was really interesting.
Refer to Terry and Arnold. Refer to Terry and Arnold.
Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Tyrion's making his calls to the 7 other teams.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we are 100% good. Nothing I should be, because literally he has so many offers, and I feel really good about this situation. From a human development point, he feels good, so I just want to triple check, because he's about to call them all and tell them he's going to Seattle.
We're 100% good, bud. Just waiting. The only thing I'm gonna, just so you know, when I talk to him, I'm gonna be like, "You're coming in here to fit in. Like, this isn't like."
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You and I are on the same page there, right?
Okay. 100%.
Okay.
I want all that. This is a long-term play.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This is a long-term play.
Nicole, I appreciate you reaching back. I appreciate you reaching back out.
I just want to develop the human.
No,
he'll get a chance to play at some level.
But he for sure. No, for sure. But he knows that, right? Like, he knows he's coming to
100%.
Because I'm like, hey, man, like.
100%.
We're here to make you a better person, a better player. Like, there's a lot.
He knows.
Okay, all right.
As long as he will play and do a good, get to play some, whatever that looks like. Great.
Yeah, no, for sure. But we don't know. We don't know how long it's going to be, so we'll see.
Exactly. So you got to prepare otherwise.
All right. I appreciate it, Nicole.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
And they made a spot for me.
This is one of the best games.
All right, so real quick, I just thought it was really odd. Number one, calling a female a buddy. I don't know. I don't know if I had, in that position, it probably just rolled off his tongue. But calling a female a buddy, I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. But maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just too old. But then she kept stressing, right, that he's going to play some, right? Like he's going to play, right? He's going to play some. And so the immediate reaction to that by Schneider was, yeah, but we don't know how long it's going to be. And so right there, he already knew, right? He already knew that something was going to come down the pike. That wasn't about making the roster. That wasn't about coming in and competing and, getting a spot, or that was like, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know how long he's going to be on the exempt list. We don't know if there's going to be a suspension following that. We don't know if this guy's going to prison. We don't know how long it's going to be. And then continuing to stress the point, of being able to play, that was her biggest thing. And then what Schneider said, I thought made some sense that, we're bringing the guy in to develop him as a human. We want to develop the human first. And I just want to be clear, like Schneider had also mentioned that if he was a player that was signed to the Seahawks and then that whole situation happened, that they would have been prompted to cut him too. But then they sign him later. And I think that confused a lot of people. And I'll try to cut through it like a knife through butter here. All that really means is when an NFL team is facing something very serious like that with one of their players, you're kind of demanded to make that move. Like you have to. Because of the seriousness of it. You have to cut the player. That doesn't mean that a team picking him up later is wrong for bringing the player in. Right? They're willing to see what happens. And I guarantee that contract is so locked down that he's not going to see a penny besides, any sort of a vet minimum while he's going through this whole thing. And even that, he may not get anything. So they can't be that stupid. But I don't know all the ins and outs of the NFL contracts. Like, do you have to pay a player? Yes, obviously. But if they're on the exempt list, do they still get paid? I think the answer is yes, there too. And this whole thing is just a waiting game. But that doesn't mean that the Lions made a mistake. It's not like he was coming in there to start. I don't think that's the case either. And then for people to say that he was bad at football, like Terrion Arnold was not bad at football. Like he was on a team that went through a shitload of injuries. And that slowed his development. He went through some injuries himself. And that slowed everybody, up. But that whole secondary, lost just about everybody. And in the year before that, they lost everybody up front. There's not too many teams that can play through that. Probably none. There's not too many secondaries that can play through that. When everybody but Jack Campbell was out and that front seven, tell me another secondary that would have been able to come in and handle that, where all of the pressure is on them, 100% of it. And then there was games like when Terry Arnold was on the field, he had like a 30% passer rating against when he was on the field. When he was off the field, that passer rating against was like 82% or higher in a lot of the games. And that should tell you something. When he was on the field, he was effective. But if you're going to grade the guy or evaluate the guy from his rookie year and all those penalties, there's a lot of players that go through that same thing. And I think we all agree half those penalties were erroneous calls, man. They were not pass interference. They were not holding. It was garbage. It was absolute garbage. Now, TA, the human, I think, is separate than the player. Very bad situation. We've talked about it many times already on this channel. I just feel like whatever happens, happens. I don't think he's a bad individual by nature. I just feel like it's a bad situation. Let's listen to the rest of the call.
Interviews we've ever had, like the most fun, like, yeah, it was awesome. Gosh. And then bowling up there. That's cool. Like, that's track.
Long jump. Thought I was going to win a long jump state championship. This white boy came and jumped 25. I said, shit. In my high school, we ran a defense called Punt on the Ballterium. No. So I went to Alabama.
Did you hear that? Did you win much in high school? No. That's why I went to Alabama.
Man, I value somebody who respects the game. In this game, the beauty of football is character. And like they say, football builds character, but it doesn't. It reveals it.
So that whole exchange right there, where Terrian is saying that he values the game, right? He values people that value the game, and that football doesn't build character, it reveals it. Like that is a very powerful statement. And so my one question for Terrian would be, what did football reveal for you then? What did it reveal? Because if it revealed your character, then right now you got a major character problem. I think Terrian's cocky. I think he's really cocky. I think he's really arrogant. But a lot of players are. They're the best of the best, man. They are. And so that's where I'll end with this whole thing with Terrian Arnold is I did a little research, as I always do. And I started putting this in the Dominic Lovett piece, which will be out here shortly. I forgot to release it last night, but I made a couple of updates. Where did I put it? So I did a little scan. How many adult males ages 20 to 32? I figured that was a good number. I mean, there's not a whole lot of adult males age 20 that are in the league. They're usually 21, 22, in that range. There's a few 20-year-olds. Penei Sewell was really young. But I thought that was a good number to find out how many adult males there are in the United States. So I didn't even go worldwide, just the United States. And based on the number of adults in that age range, and then how many players make a 90-man roster, how many players make a 53-man roster, and how many players make the overall 69-man roster. Anyone care to guess what that percentage is? What that percentage is to play in the NFL, even to make a camp roster every single year. I'll give you a number, and then give me your guess in the chat and in the comments if you would like to play. So you have 32 teams. You have 90 men, not including pathway players. That's 2,880 players every single season that are on a 90-man roster. Now, that number goes up because you have players that get injured, more players come in. But I didn't go with those numbers because I don't know what those numbers are. So I went with the 2880. But give me an idea, give me a guess of what you think, how many players make a 90-man roster percentage based on how many adults age 20 to 32 males there are in the United States. The number is going to shock you. And that's why when I hear people say, oh, that player's glass, or that player's a bust, or, that player, blah, blah, blah. Look, they may not be the best player on that team. They may not be the best player in the NFL. But what these players are is the best players in the world. And while you're probably on your couch typing that, or in your mom's basement, or maybe you're on a microphone in your basement, those players are probably out there working out. Those players might be out there catching 202 footballs. Those players might be out running 10 miles. Those players are more than likely on an NFL field somewhere. That's why it's a little bit slow for me to judge people like that. But I know that there's some narcissists in the world that just judge people. And I'm sorry. I mean, that's just not, it's not the Christian way. It's definitely not the way that I was brought up. I just don't think it's just toxic, man. It's just toxic to me. Critique people is one thing, but to call people names and to, be derogatory about them, their career, even their families at times, like it's out of control. So I'm going to give you the number. Oh, cruising, man, you're way off, buddy. Cruising. Here's the number, and it starts with a point. 0.005% of men aged 20 to 32 make a 90-man roster. 0.00287 make a 53-man roster. And between that is like 0.0392 or something like that was the 69-man roster. Less than 0.5% of men in this country age 20 to 32 make a roster. But yet, I don't know, we degrade these people for what reason? I don't understand it. So anyway, I had those little things in my articles every time, and every now and again, because I just think it's a good reminder that like these guys are the cream of the crop, and even though they may not be better than the next guy on their team, or better than the next guy in the league, like it's a pretty rare individual to be able to make an NFL roster. It's pretty special stuff. So when you get an opportunity to talk to one, when you get an opportunity to shake their hand, when you get an opportunity to get an autograph, it's pretty rare, man. It's a rare opportunity. And that's why I think it makes more sense to like enjoy it, right? You can critique. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have an opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that there's just a fine line with how some people treat these players, man. And it's gotten pretty bad. It's gotten really bad over many, many years. These guys get threats because of betting. They lose bets. They get threats. And it's just not, it's not right. If this was The Price is Right, Major had the closest bid. There you go. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all have a good rest of your day, because it's going to become the rambling hour, and I don't want to do that. So you guys take care. We'll see you guys in the next one.